We're almost ready to rock and roll. Thank you for your patience. Your audio was not up. It's all better now.
Do I have to start all over?
You can do whatever you like. You're the host. But nobody heard a word you said.
We were just talking about the Pope.
Yes, and his medical condition critical, but he seems to be hanging in there.
Yeah,
And that's good.
that's good.
So I'm Cliff Krieger. This is Eileen Delrossi. And how are you today, Eileen?
I'm good, Cliff. I'm good. I'm ready for the day.
That was my goof up. I goofed. I pushed the wrong control signal out there. Sorry.
Well, these things happen.
We forgive you.
Thank you.
So today is a day in which some people want us to have a 24-hour economic blackout. Had you heard about that, Eileen?
No. Explain that to me, Cliff, please.
Let me just check. Did you hear about that, John?
Oh, yeah.
What's the economic
And
blackout?
I'm happy that I got a donut this morning.
Yeah, Cliff didn't want one. I abided by his wishes.
So
Thank you.
tickled that Eileen's.
You're welcome, Martha.
So we're good.
There's a group known as the People's Union, founded by John Schwartz, with supposedly no affiliation with a political party, but it's focused to fight corruption in government and corporations. And they want us to not spend any money today.
Well,
No Amazon, no Best Buy, no Walmart. Don't spend any money.
I only heard one question to a woman that was boasting about this, and the guy asked her, so does that mean you're shutting your heat off for the day and you're not gonna use your electricity?
And what did she say?
She ignored the question.
Oh,
Okay. I bought this coffee and
Yeah.
a donut so far. Have I destroyed the economic blackout?
I think so.
Well, I don't plan to spend any more money throughout the rest of the day.
How do you
But-
know that? You're not, where you getting supper?
Oh, yeah.
Where you getting lunch?
I mean, lunch,
Do you need gas for your car?
I have gas.
Okay, so there's a purchase you're not gonna make.
Hey, so so a few years ago, I was in between jobs after I was elected to the school committee, and I was really having a tough time finding like where I fit after I left Lowell, right?
Yep.
I was in Lawrence, I was in a virtual school, I was in a Catholic school, and in between all of that, I remember my mother being in the hospital, and I went down to the career center, and the career center kind of like helped me to focus and zone in on what I needed to do. And when I finally got hired in Methuen, I let them know about it, and they checked in with me every month to see about how my job is and the hours and so forth. And so just recently, they said you reached your 2 years, and they said you're eligible for a gift card either to Market Basket, to Kohl's, or Hafner's. So I was like, I pick Hafner's. And so I went to pick it up the other day, and it was a $200 gift card for Hafner's. So if people go to the Career Center, use their resources, get a job, they'll get rewarded in 2 years with a $200 gift card to either Market
Fantastic.
Basket, Kohl's, or Hafner's.
Beautiful.
So I think that's just a great way to shout out to the services that the city have.
Yeah.
Wait till Elon Musk finds out about this one.
But they record everything, like even before the information was in a envelope and it was recorded on a number and everything. It's not like you just walk in and here you go. I find that it was very monitored, that system. I don't know, and I think Elon Musk would appreciate that, because I was just listening that the reason they're sending these emails to people is to make sure they're alive and not fake. Right?
Correct.
Did I hear someone tell a story on the show about an employee who claimed to be working from home, and then her boss on a break went into a store and found this employee working in the store?
Ooh. Devious. Nefarious.
Nefarious, yeah.
Nefarious.
Not
But,
very good.
Well, and that's what I was listening to Elon Musk say earlier. He's like, I'm just making sure that there is at least a neuron and somebody who can respond, right, to these emails, because they're noticing that money's going to certain people, maybe under fake names, or money to people who are actually getting it, but under people who have passed away names.
That used to be in Naples, Italy, the trash pickup. If someone died, they never reported their death, so the checks kept coming.
How about Gene Hackman
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and his wife? They died a long time ago.
how long did they? I just heard it yesterday morning, and even the dog.
I heard all kinds of rumors, but if the other two dogs were alive in the house, it couldn't have been that long.
Oh, I didn't know there were other dogs alive.
Well,
Yeah.
listening to California radio yesterday, station's called KFI, and they have talk show all day long. I enjoy listening to them, and they were talking about it. There were two other dogs in the house.
Oh. So the theory of carbon monoxide, and then I heard also the theory of
Well, I heard there were, in the wife's bathroom, there were pills all over the floor. So she could have been going in there to get some meds and just got excited and popped the pills all over the room. So, when you're excited and you're trying to get some meds for your husband, you're trying to get the doggone thing open, sometimes you excite the bottle too much that the pills fly all over the bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, wow. It will be interesting to find out what they discover.
It will be. But for interest's sake, the producer's favorite government agency, NSA, no such agency?
What is the NSA?
No such agency.
Oh, all
The
right.
National Security Agency. Did you see where it was revealed that on their internal chat organization, they were discussing polyamory, transgender surgeries, all sorts of interesting sexually oriented items, and that the Director of National Intelligence, the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, moved to terminate and revoke the security clearances of those involved.
Interesting. Secret sex chats.
Yeah.
I can't access it.
Did
Must be good.
Yeah. Did you hear about that, John?
I'm sorry, Cliff, I was looking at the newspaper. About what?
The NSA sex chats?
I don't participate in them, Cliff. I didn't know you were into that stuff. But please continue.
John,
You mean,
have you had your cup of coffee yet?
Yes.
As in
Oh,
male,
my God, it's
female.
delicious. I got it right here. Thank you.
but,
Because you're apparently
I'm just kidding you, Cliff.
about to bubble off. Okay.
I was just kidding you.
Oh,
The audience
okay.
knows I was just kidding you, too.
so would it make more sense if it was the No Such Agency's secret gender charts?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that's where almost every single case caves. Oh, sorry I'm blurry. I forgot to press a button this morning, but as soon as you start with a court case, I'm suing you, and I want all of your text messages. And if the court says you got to give them all your text messages, you go like, all of them? Even where I sent naked pictures of myself to my dog? You want all those pictures? So that's where they'll usually cave. Okay, let's settle this. I'm not sending my texts. So texts, you got to be careful with your texts, kids. That is evidence.
Yeah,
Okay.
Give me all of your texts. All of them.
you can have them. I got nothing.
Do you have no interesting texts?
No,
Oh.
Not at this time in their life. Maybe in a month or so.
I mean, maybe
Could
yeah.
change.
It shouldn't change. So speaking of people with shady backgrounds, Lois Lerner lives. The reporter Laura Logan says that the IRS has been continuing to spill out people's IRS returns. She said as soon as Trump announced Pete Hegseth's nomination for Secretary of Defense, Biden holdovers at the IRS sprang into action with a last-minute audit. The timing raises questions about whether the agency is being weaponized for political retaliation.
So who are they auditing?
Pete Hegseth.
Oh, well, if
I
somebody
don't-
could stop doing that and process my federal refund, I would greatly
Oh,
appreciate
you
it.
already filed?
Yeah,
Wow, you're on the ball.
I am.
So,
And that's, I also can't, like, literally can't spend any more money. Because I don't have any today.
so it turns out that ProPublica, which is funded partly by liberal donors like George Soros and partly by USAID, published nearly 50 articles on what it described as a massive trove of taxpayer information stolen by government contractor Charles E. Littlejohn. Mr. Littlejohn said it was only 7,500 taxpayers, but there's an outfit out there called Alarm Concepts. They have a lawsuit against the IRS, and they figured 70,000. And the IRS told House Republicans this month that Mr. Littlejohn provided data on 400,000 taxpayers.
The economic
Eileen, can you read this one?
The economic blackout is mostly geared at big business and corporations. Citizens are still encouraged to buy things from local and small businesses to help benefit them. Okay, so
So I
top
will
donut,
ask-
local small business, Dunkin' Donuts, Big Pharma.
Well, no, don't forget about the electric company, big company. Big company, shut your lights off. Shut everything off.
And then back in 2016, apparently hackers broke in and stole 300,000 information on 300,000 taxpayers.
That happened, well, I think I was hacked in 2013, but I think it was through Facebook because they were able to get all my information and within a second, change my password somehow and access my email because my email had to get shut down. And I think 2013 was a rough year. I
Yeah.
remember having to go to the bank and bring my ID and all this stuff.
ID?
Yeah, because
Did you have to show an ID to vote?
no, you never have to, but I always bring mine because it's so disturbing to me.
Okay.
It just doesn't make sense. I could tell them I'm anybody I want. Right?
Yeah,
As long as I have the right name and the right address.
right. And you present as the right gender.
Right. I mean,
If you claimed you were Clifford Krieger, there might be some question.
but I mean, even in the airport when you're going to fly, last week, and every TSA agent that we had to go through the security line with said something to get Anthony's attention to make sure it was actually him. You know what I mean? And so I just think there's a lot to say for validation.
Okay. So, to your nighttime job, Hillsdale College sent out an email that asked, "Is excellence racist?"
I mean, we should all strive for excellence, but everybody's excellence is different. So I don't think anyone in the field of education, when you ask them about excellence, excellence is individualized per person, I believe, and per student.
But is the concept of excellence of in itself racist?
No, it should be an expectation because we should strive for excellence. Because, like I said, everybody's excellence is a different point, but any little type of progress is excellence to me. That a student achieved and made progress, and it's excellence in their realm.
Good.
And I know in Methuen, they do promote the best for the kids and have very high standards. And I think it's a great thing because we need our kids to strive and not just give up, right? And I think we've seen since COVID, kids just lose overall interest in school. And no student knows how to elaborate in 5th and 6th grade that I see, or to really push through. Their stamina is decreased, so it's important to push excellence and to break it down to students that if something's hard, it's okay, we'll get through it, and we'll figure it out step by step, but don't give up. Don't say I can't. A lot of kids defer to that, and it's just, yeah, it's interesting.
So, Staying on the school thread, how are we doing on, I just saw something, they're going to build a $600 million technical high school down in Boston, which just boggled my mind. How are we doing on our $350 million renovation?
Well, as news was yesterday, that there is a problem with the slab or the floor in the 1922 building. So from what I understand, the completion date for our new high school that was voted on in 2017 is the expectation of excellence for that completion of the building should be completed instead of August of 2026 in late December of 2026. And we have no clue of how much it's going to cost yet. Because as we all know, there's tons of change orders, and I'm sure there'll be lots more change orders, but I just think anybody should have known to reconstruct a new building like that, you're going to run into problems. As so old as it is, and what was I reading? I think it was Inside Lowell's article. Teddy Panos' article that Eric Gitchier was in the studio talking about how the 1922 building is adjacent with the canal and how there would be water issues as they dug and renovated. And so I think, I mean, even if, as the city voted to have it downtown, the new building, I think they should have went through every possibility, and it's obviously going to cost a lot more money. And I mean, it's our students' education and safety that's disrupted in those areas. No one else, just the students, the teachers. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, the rest of us are impacted indirectly.
By the taxes, you're right.
A,
Everybody.
by the taxes, and B, by the students not performing well and therefore not going out and getting jobs that will result in them paying good taxes.
Okay, so so in 2017, when this all happened, was it actually a vote, or it was decided by the city council, their votes?
We had a vote.
So everybody in Lowell voted?
That's my recollection. What's your recollection, John?
What's the question?
In terms of who was the people, did they do like an election vote for whether the school was to be, Lowell High, to be built at Collie or reconstructed downtown, or was it the city council choice?
The people voted,
They did vote.
influencing the city council to do what the people wanted them to do. That's why it's downtown. And so far as the screw-ups during construction, we have a city council that is disenfranchised. They don't get the information they need to make good decisions. Don't tell them that. Now, there's a guy down, this morning, there's a newscast, some mayor. He was being paid like a, overpaid. So what he did is he told the staff, hide that money so they'll never see it. And I guess they didn't see it for 4 years. So this guy's been getting overpaid, allegedly, for 4 years, and his city council had no idea. Now the city council's saying, we want our money back. You ain't gonna get it.
Yeah.
So the city council does not get the information they need to make informed decisions about the construction of the high school, i.e. we're building a sick building, the windows don't open, and we're all going to applaud and do a nice ribbon cutting with smiles, opening our sick building.
Well, and yeah, and so, and I hear all this news about the U.S. nation and us being a first city, but like, how can we think so big when our own city has so many issues? It's like, look the other way. Look the other way. And it was the the city of Everett mayor, or town of Everett mayor, that was overpaid $180,000 since 2016.
Oh.
Mayor Carlo Di Maria.
Oh my God, he got up to the podium and he's got this gorgeous woman with red hair standing next to him. They're like, oh my God, if that's his wife, no wonder he's smiling. When you see it on Channel 5, notice the tall red head. Out.
I'll check it out.
But this, being kept in the dark, I mean, I didn't see the city council meeting, but the number one item motion was for Eric Gitcher, and it, at the end of it, it said refile, and he said that he's filed this a couple times and no one's ever answered it. On the other hand, Joni Ernst down in the U.S. Capitol said that her committee was asking USAID for information, and USAID just gaffed them off and never provided the information on what they were doing. So bureaucracies fighting the elected leaders is apparently rampant across the country.
Commonplace and unacceptable.
Yeah, I heard Tom Hegseth being so upset with the Boston police chief, Cox, is that who it is? About 7 people in our jails that committed heinous crimes and needed to be deported, not put in our Massachusetts jails.
Not Hegseth.
Oh, no, not Hegseth, Tom Holman. I apologize.
Tom Holman.
It's the H's. Hegseth,
Yes.
Holman. I need to get my act
They're
straight
taking
with these
over.
strong political leaders.
So there was an article in the Lowell Sun this morning about headlined as Trump's deadline to eliminate DEI nears, few schools openly rush to make changes. That
Eileen, you got 2 texts here. If you could read them, that'd be great.
Home run, comrade. But the city council will congratulate each other about what a great job the manager is doing.
Just extended his contract.
The high school is a public project. It's supposed to be over budget and not on time. Go ahead. That's how government works. Where have you been? I know, but I get that. And if it wasn't in the middle of our city and affecting our children who are walking in those areas and have to adjust, and what's going to happen to all the culinary is in the basement of the high school. That's a huge component for our kids. That's all going to get shut down while they intensely work on it. So that's my concern, is what's going to be taken from the kids. That's a lot of vocational stuff down there that everyone looks forward to in classrooms. ROTC is in the basement. The kitchen.
I'll be complaining
The
about the
nurse.
fact that you can't open the windows in the building until the project is done. They
Yeah.
can still fix this. There's time to fix it. And I'm sorry, they're building a sick building. Lowell does not know what maintenance is, and to think, oh, we'll maintain this beautifully. Really? Let's take a ride up to DPW and see how well you've maintained those vehicles.
Oh, I've seen a couple. The health center is on the basement floor. Services, look, what are we going to do? And I feel like in a lot of my motions, I tried to be proactive instead of reactive. Or I'm not saying that right, because I don't think my copy's hit my brain yet. But it's, why do we always have to be reactive instead of proactive in situations? And like John said, we have the time to fix the windows. Like, what are we going to do about all the programs that are going to be displaced while they're working on the basement? What are they going to be using to work in the basement? What does the school need to do to make sure everybody's safe? Are there going to be fumes? How is it going to affect the entire old building overall? What entrances are we going to be using? Like, this all needs to be thought out. Because hearing that kids are late to class because they can't get into a building because nobody's at security or whatever, and this was like a year ago when we had students in, that's an issue. I mean, we need to think about those things now instead of when they're happening. And it's not being a prude, it's being proactive, and we should want to be proactive, I would think, but it seems like nobody wants to hear how we're going to plan for this type of setback at the same time.
Yeah. So, John, is there no air handling system for the high school?
Yes, there is a air handling system that's designed to clean out all of the germs and everything else. That I will bet you not one person has been trained how to operate that machinery. Not one person even knows where the filters are to change them. And if we all know the easiest thing to do if you get sick of changing filters is just don't put them in. Pull them out, throw them away, and don't put new ones in. Lowell's maintenance on their machinery is absolutely terrible. And there's no school committee person, there's no city councilor that asked their manager, prove to me someone knows how to operate this system. Bring them to the city council meeting and explain to us how they're going to operate this system and what needs to happen to keep our brand spanking new high school with healthy air. When I sneeze, and whatever I have, whatever kind of cold I have, I sneeze, it goes over to that blower, it blows it over to you guys. That's how microbiology works. That's how viruses spread. When you sneeze, it gets sucked up into a duct. And unless there's some filter in there that's going to stop that virus, it's going to get sucked through and sent into classroom C. And that's the building that we're making. And based on Lowell's past, their maintenance is way below lackluster. Back over to you, Cliff. Hope that helped with your answer.
Okay. So, Eileen, you said something about, to me, about that there is some scamming going on with regard to the state lawyers?
Well, a colleague of mine.
We should wait till Melanie comes here, because she might like this story too.
Yes,
But
yes.
you give him a little snippet, please.
Okay, so in regards to estate planning, there was a situation in terms of my colleague retaining, well, a friend of my colleagues, they retained a state lawyer who, you don't go to the office because he doesn't have an office. He drives around in his car
He's got a trunk.
from New Hampshire throughout Massachusetts,
This is like the Lincoln lawyer.
but not as good as the Lincoln lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Somebody said that to me too.
No, the Lincoln lawyer has an office.
Yeah, he has a good office staffed by his ex-wife, one of them. And he'll just, go to your house as long as you pay him $3,500, and he'll create any estate plan regarding whatever without even knowing the person. And then have friends of the beneficiary sign as witnesses instead of people who work in his office, because he doesn't drive around with office employees. How's that for a snippet?
So they forged the signature of a witness?
No, the signatures were right, but they were all longtime friends of the one of the beneficiaries.
Which looked a little
I-
unseemly.
So when Melanie comes, she'll ask you some good questions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So Eileen, I got 2 texts I want you to read, please.
We should have learned from the big dig. It started out an estimated $2 billion, ended up costing $25 billion. Oh, wow. Wait till they get their hands on the Rourke Bridge. Cha-ching. Ugh, that's so true. Don't forget about the roads. That's all you'll need to know about how government works. Oh, and it's so bad out there, especially with it warming up and the potholes. Yeah, I agree.
That'd be a good question if we could get someone from the city to come in and talk to us about if you damage your car in a pothole, can you sue the city?
Right? And I mean, with the increase of them, like people can't always tell when they're going to arise either, right? Because it's weather based kind of, like I noticed a lot more popped up. But what's a remedy that we can do? What's something we can do to make the potholes decreased, or to at least going through the downtown area, right? Where you have the cobblestones and potholes like significantly. And yeah, even Broadway Road where I drive down to work, you know, I've noticed an increase in the potholes.
Wouldn't be a bad idea to get a lawyer in here once a month on Mondays to talk about legal issues. You know,
I would
like-
love that. Yeah, that would be great. Why don't you ask Mike Zane?
I can ask Mike.
Yeah, he's right there. Well, I mean, also, I'm sure you know a lot of
I
other
mean,
ones.
he's an
but-
early riser. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once a month, come in and just talk about legal questions, because if you hit a pothole, what proof do you need? Because the city, I remember a long time ago, my colleague, his name was Timmy George. It was a real busy day at the funeral home, so nobody could pick up one of my employees' kids at school. So call him on the radio, hey, Tibbles, where are you? I'm here. Can you go over and pick up so-and-so's kiddo at the school? Sure. So he scoots over to Centerville, coming back, he's bringing the kid to his mother, coming back, a slat on the Willette Bridge, which is the top donut bridge,
Okay.
came up, and it tore the rear end off his car.
With the kid in the car.
Yeah. Well, everybody had their seatbelt on, but you're driving along road speed, all of a sudden, bam! Stopped on a dime, tore the back of the car right off. So he calls me up, he says, Johnny, you gotta come get me. You're not gonna believe it. I just tore the rear end right off the car. So we all laughed about it because nobody got hurt. But we had a hell of a time. Our insurance company ended up embattling the city because the city owns the bridge. And it got settled out. We didn't have to do anything. The insurance companies fought about it. But it was quite the...
That is interesting.
But what evidence do you need? See, because his evidence was the car wouldn't move. It tore the wheel off.
And how do you explain that to anybody? Like, I can't even picture
Well,
it in my
the
head.
cops were there. The report was made, and it was nobody got hurt. It was just lack of maintenance. And good old Lowell.
You know
That's a
what?
long time ago.
So when you call the state ethics, they have a lawyer of the day. So maybe if you get a lawyer, we can call it the lawyer of the month on City Life.
Yes. So,
I like that. I really like this idea.
so how's President Trump doing on peace in Ukraine and Palestine?
Not so good Ukraine. Palestine, I think he's working on it. What's going, Ukraine is North Korea, there's a lot going on there. How, North Korea and Ukraine, what happened there? If you can explain as simple as possible, using
But
a small
before he
words.
does, Eileen, want to read this one quick?
Good luck, BRD. Has the ski jump been fixed on Elm Street? What's BRD?
I don't know.
Big red dog.
Clifford?
Clifford, the
Elm
big
Street.
red dog.
Oh, the one.
And
one
no,
of-
the ski jump has not been fixed on Elm Street. I can zoom in on it if you'll, because I have this handy dandy little camera here, and we'll zoom in on the ski jump. It's going to get fixed in 2000. Eric Gitcher, I asked him about it, and he was able to get information back to me that my takeaway from our conversation was 2026, the city's going to fix this road. So I'm zooming out on Elm Street, which is just a 2-minute walk from here. And come on, baby, get over there. Get over there.
Oh, yeah, I've hit that one. It's horrible.
And it's going to be there until 2026. And this is one of the issues that primed me to find somebody to run against Wayne Genest, because this is going to be existing for a long time. I'll leave this up till a car comes down, but this is the crevice in the road. And there you are, you're sipping, see, there's a local, he knows, slow down. Because it is quite the bump. The city manager never uses this road. He stays off Elm Street.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I have an astigmatism, right? And so it's the reason why I'll always park crooked and like, I don't see these things because of my depth perception with the astigmatism. And so I'm always like hitting them.
That's why you need a lid on your coffee cup.
Yeah, exactly. I put lids on everything.
Can you get a prism put in your glasses?
What's a prism?
A prism is a way of bending the light. Have you ever seen the triangular piece of glass that brings light in and then it comes out the one of the other sides in the different spectrums of the rainbow?
Oh, yes, like a, but I don't, there's something with the type of astigmatism that I have that they said it wouldn't work for some reason. One day I was coming, I was finishing my lunch, my students were early, so I had them just wait outside the cafeteria because they could see me. And I had something in my hand, I walked out, one of my students were right there, I didn't even see him, and I hit him. I was like, I'm so sorry. And I explained my astigmatism. And yesterday we were going over like curbs. Where I was doing UR words, and I was saying I often hit curbs because of my astigmatism. And he's like, I believe that, that same student.
Want to read this one, Eileen?
Fonzie could use that bump as a ramp to jump 13 barrels. I like that.
Back to you guys. You got the picture.
Our viewer Jay, though, will be disappointed if we don't mention Fairmount Street, which is its own little problem and not on the list.
Well, that's a neighborhood thing where people that speak will never be. I'll tell you this, but don't put it out there publicly. I don't want the.
We're on TV, John.
No, but they will tell you, I don't want it paved. It'll become a speedway.
Oh, yeah.
Because it
it's a
skips
cut-through.
it skips the light on Nesbitt Street. So when you want to scoot home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a traffic jam on Nesbitt Street every day. And people sit there patiently waiting for the light to change. But you can skip one light. You can skip a lot of stuff if you take Fairmount Street and cut through Belvedere and be on Andover Street. And a lot of people do. And if you pave it, they'll just go faster.
Yeah.
That's what.
Would they violate the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit?
Sadly, they do.
They do. I mean, I try not to use Elm Street as a cut through. I always go down to Church Street and take a right there, but even there, it's bad on Church
See,
Street.
I have a hobby of avoiding traffic lights. I try to avoid them.
Yeah, same, but when you're coming off the connector and you have to get to Centerville, it's pretty much impossible.
See, if I were you going to Centerville, I would take the ramp, Thorndike Street ramp.
Which one? Thorndike?
Thorndike
Okay.
Street ramp. And when I get to Summer Street, I'd take a quick right and a left, and I'd migrate over to the Nicky Songus Bridge. You know where the Nicky Songus Bridge is? It's the newest bridge in Lowell. It's over in the old Mills complex where they are all condos now. And I'd end up on Dutton Street, scoot over Dutton Street, and the Top Donut Bridge is the least of all the bridges used. The Willette Bridge is the least used bridge.
Interesting. So I was last weekend at Tavern in the Square with one of my friends, and she said, do you want to go to Primo's and Drake it? And I said, ooh, that's like a challenge almost, right? Like, what way? And so I did. I got off on Thorndike Street. I went all the way around to where City Hall is, around by the high school, took a left, went up all that way, went over the University of Lowell Bridge to the right, called my friend. I'm like, okay, where are you? She's like, School Street at a light. And I'm like, I think I Wazed this the right way. Then I went past UMass Lowell North Campus, took a right where that Dunkin' Donuts is, and then took a left on Hampson Street. and got to Primos. You know what? I'm gonna get a side hustle for my routes through Lowell. I'm gonna be a competition to
Become an Uber
Waze.
driver?
No, I don't think I could do Uber driver. I do like
You got a
Uber
very
Eats.
true out of one of our audience.
Very true.
So, now, with bridges being congested, the real solution is the Marie Sweeney Bridge.
I don't know these names. I know them if you tell me where they are.
It's mythical.
Mythical. And I'm
But-
still trying to think where the Nikki Songus Bridge is because I know you explained it, but I think I
I'll
lost
show
you.
it to you. It's top secret. Don't tell anybody about it. 'Cause it's a great shortcut. So don't tell anybody.
But if we put a four-lane bridge across the Merrimack down by Lindsay's and ran it down to 495 limited access, would drain a lot of traffic off of all the other bridges. So, $250 million, no big deal. And John is looking for a map. And
Yeah.
you were asking about North Korea in the Ukraine. And that's North Korea helping out Russia, because Russia has found A, it needs a lot of munitions to fight that war, and B, it needs a lot of people. And so I think President Trump is right when he says that we're killing a lot of people and we ought to stop it. The North Koreans have gone up there. I think they thought it was going to be a piece of cake. Turned out not to be. All right, here we go.
Here we are in lovely Lowell, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And this is the connector ends. Here's Thorndike Street. So what you're going to do is I'm going to zoom in. And once you go up here, you can get on Appleton or Middlesex.
Okay.
The Nikki Songus Bridge is right here. So
Where the
let me go-
registry of motor vehicles?
It's behind. Let me see. Hold on. Why doesn't that come up? Okay, there. That's better. Okay, so Gorham Street. So we're going to zoom in on Jackson Street. Mm-hmm. And you scoot right. You get onto Canal Street.
Okay. That's by the courthouse?
Yep.
Yep.
Here's the brand spec. Here's the new courthouse. So you get on Canal Street.
Yeah.
They force you to take a right.
Yeah.
Force you to take a left.
And it brings
This-
you out to Market.
Is the Nikki Songus Bridge.
Okay. All right. Now I'm.
It
And
looks like it dumps into the water.
yeah, and for a little bit,
No.
and I think when they first started doing this, you couldn't get out to a main street. Is that right?
No, it brings you over to Dutton.
I
Brings you
know.
right over to Dutton Street. So you can now scoot up Broadway, or you can go down Dutton.
I think I tried to do that at one point, but I couldn't get out of that circle, or maybe I missed something, or
Yeah.
maybe I made a wrong turn, which
So
I wouldn't
again,
put past
you
me,
down
but-
any street you want. Jackson's a waste of time. So you
All right.
scoot down Middlesex, take your first left by the new parking garage, and you just go all the way down Canal Street, which I never knew the name of that. I forgot the name of it. And Canal Street waggles right along, doesn't it? It just waggles right along. You just stay on Canal Street, and it brings you out to Dutton.
All right, I like that. Thank you for.
Don't tell
opening-
anybody. That's a shortcut.
If there's traffic there, we know who to blame.
Well, the neighbors are going to get mad at me because I tattled about the bridge.
So, I don't think the Russians are enjoying the Ukraine war. The military operation, they're going to wrap it up in a couple of weeks. And it's been going for 3 years. The anniversary was Monday of this week. And North Korea has sent troops. Troops have been killed, been captured, and they're apparently sending more troops. And some of them, the ones that survive, are picking up a good military experience.
Well, Cliff, I sent you a text yesterday. You sent me really good information about the slaughtering of the North Korean troops that they're losing. Big news about 90 days ago was North Korea sending their crack troops to Ukraine to fight for Russia. And it's been a miserable, based on what you sent me, Cliff, and thank you for researching it, it's been a miserable failure. The North Korean troops mostly surrendered. That was my takeaway from the information. Were you able to read some of that stuff, or you just send it over to me?
I skimmed it.
Okay. So would you be proud of your North Korean troops?
No. I think that there are problems. Of course, the sources you had were from South Korea, so they're going to be a little biased.
Well, I understand that, but was stated in the article that this guy who runs North Korea, Ching Chung Chow, whatever the guy's name is, Rocket Man, does not accept the remains of his dead soldiers. He won't take them. Terrible.
Yep, that is true. It is terrible. Kim Jong-un,
Thank you.
the grandson of the founder of the current Kim regime. So we were talking about Ukraine. I think that President Trump is probably doing a pretty good job with working on peace with Ukraine. He's got to get Putin involved. Putin needs to come away with some face saving that allows him to continue on. Zelensky from Ukraine needs to keep most of the country. I think it's clever of President Trump to be involving Saudi Arabia's head, Mohammed bin Sultan, MBS, in this, especially after President Biden tried to squeeze him to the side and make him a pariah, to use Joseph R. Biden's term.
Big Red Dog, we have a comment directed to you. Eileen, will you read that to Cliff, please?
What does Cliff think of Professor John Mersheimer's view on the Ukraine-Russia war? Do you know what that is? I can Google it if you don't.
No, I don't know what John Mearsheimer's view is on the Ukraine-Russia war. So you forced me, I'll go back over the weekend and take a look at it. I have a lot of respect for John Mearsheimer. When I was a professor at the National War College, I brought him in as a guest speaker. That's how much respect I have for him. He's a good thinker. He had a good book out on conventional deterrence. That was 40 years ago. I'll check it out, and I'll be prepared to talk about it on Monday.
Yeah, I can't find anything right now. Okay, thank you.
So, did you see where pro-Palestinian protesters stormed the dean's office at Barnard College after two students were expelled for deliberately disrupting a class?
Why don't they do that in like fourth grade?
Well, that's a question for Eileen.
Eileen, why don't they kick the kids out in fourth grade for disrupting the class?
They can't. They don't know what to do about them. We can't punish anybody. We can't give consequences. We can't tell them that they're wrong because it would be violating their rights to be who they want to be, even though they're 10 and they're fresh and they don't want to learn and they don't think they need to turn their brains on in school. So
Cliff,
we
door
have
open?
no recourse. I left it open,
I'll be right there, thanks.
or maybe not.
I locked it.
Oh, yeah, Cliff came in after
Hey,
me.
we're gonna go to break. We'll be back.
All right.
I think I've started to learn Cliff. I'm like on a level.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to City Life Show. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. Eileen Delrossi is my
Good
co-host.
morning, everybody.
And we have as our guest Melanie Gilbert
morning,
from the
Melanie.
Lowell
Good
Sun.
Good morning.
And we have our producer, John McDonough. And our weather, John likes me to touch on this, 35 degrees when I drove in, not bad. It's
No.
going to rain tomorrow, 40%.
With a little bit of snow, I heard.
Yeah. Well, that happened Thursday, too.
Yes?
Oh, yeah, I
We
was
were
not
told
prepared.
rain, but my wife said, Hey, there's snow out here.
I was driving at 6 in the morning and the roads weren't treated. It was so bad.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. It
But
was
it
a low
cleared
enough
up.
temperature. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
like 35 degrees out there now, you know?
Yeah.
I
So
want
it's
to
not-
remind the viewers that today would be a good day to open your windows. As you
Yes.
can see with
Yeah.
the American flag blowing in the breeze, open your windows
Windy.
because it's going to turn cold again on Monday. The wind chill factor will be like 10 below zero. So suck in some nice fresh air today. If you're going to go out to the store, open your windows and go to the store and come back and close them back up again. But nice breeze going through lovely Lowell right now and right through your neighborhood.
It's
Thanks,
no-
Cliff.
It's nice to see the flag flying at full staff.
Yeah, because we
Finally.
talked about that,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago or so, and it was half-staff, and we couldn't
Yeah.
figure out what.
The
what
flag
happened.
was at half-staff earlier in the week because they were waiting to bury a U.S. state, a mass state rep.
Oh, that's right. Right.
So,
Well, it was a Democratic trick to be in mourning about Trump winning.
Yeah, that Jimmy Carter. What bad form of him
Oh,
to
see,
live.
you're democratically leaning.
Well, I guess I would say I'm more progressive leaning.
Democratically leaning.
I think you can have Republican progressives.
You're democratically leaning.
All right, well, today I went to
She's not
Rude
correcting
Awakening
me.
Love
and got
that
my
place.
hot chocolate because I figure it's still cold enough, although I drink this in the summer too.
Where'd you get it from?
Oh, I love the
Rude
highlights.
Awakening.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the coffee. I made it, John. I thought it was 10 to 7, and I thought, wait, do I have time? And then, I do my tickler. If I find parking, if there's no line, if they're open. And all three
Yeah.
conditions were met, so I ran in, and I still made it here in time. So let's cheers there, girl.
Tickler.
Yeah.
I've never heard
There
it
you
like
go.
that.
And
But
you've
like,
got-
yeah.
Oh, you've
I
got
guess
the
that's
ginger
why I
ale.
have a tickler
Yes.
when I
My
go
little
places.
tickler file, like, if this condition is met, if this condition is met, if
I
this
like that.
condition is met, hot chocolate it is.
Yeah.
Because I have to, I have to be timely. I have to be,
And if parking's complicated, I'm not going to stress my mind out.
that's interesting. In that area, the parking meters don't start until 8, so you can park for free. And there's always cars
Yeah.
on Market
always.
Street. So I wonder if they just park overnight.
Overnight, yeah, yeah.
I
And,
just want to tell the audience, I want to thank Eileen Delrossi for bringing the most tasty donut in the world. This is the coconut-covered cream-filled donut, only available at Top Donut. Delicious stuff.
Yes.
Thank
and
you,
Cliff,
Eileen.
Cliff didn't want one this morning, and Melanie and I are working on our beach bodies.
there you go.
Coffee.
With this hot chocolate.
Yep. No more.
Yours is plain coffee? Or is it flavored?
No, it's definitely flavored. It has butter pecan.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I like
So
the butter.
a friend of mine asked me about the column. And it's,
I'm a little nervous
Discussion
about the
of the
direction this
penny.
is going.
they said, it said, putting aside the fact that President Trump directed the Treasury to stop making pennies during Black History Month, notable in that the visage that adorns the 1 cent coin is of the nation's 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, who freed enslaved black Americans. The order impacts all kinds of financial, cultural, and linguistic totems that far exceed its humble face value. So, are you trying to say, in the column, is the column trying to say that Donald Trump is as racist as Woodrow Wilson?
No, sometimes the column is just a nice little way to sort of put the knife in things, right? And see what pops up. And, we had talked about this last time about Sojourner Truth replacing Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill. I
yeah.
think way back in
I'm
Obama's
for
term,
that.
and that never happened. And so you have all these white.
Oh, I want the picture of her with a pistol in
Yeah,
one hand
well,
and calling the people up.
I don't
in
think
the
it's
other.
DEI to say having all white men on our currency is a little dated, and I think it would be nice to kind of mix things up. But more than that, the only one he goes after, why stop at the penny? You could get rid of the nickel, you could get rid of the dime, The one he goes after is the penny, the little humble penny. Who's against pennies?
Wait, when I was
They're too much to make,
young,
right? Is that
it
why?
was-
They cost 3 cents to make.
Right.
Which in his mind, sort of encapsulates the inefficiency of government. But, that's why I put that sort of tongue in cheek. The penny is priceless,
But
I like
when
that.
I was a kid, the slur against people was that you would stoop for a penny.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I never heard that. I always pick up money every time I find it. The only thing that I might not pick up, because I am a little superstitious, unreasonably so, is that if you find a penny tails up, it's bad luck.
Yeah,
If
I
you
don't
find a
need any
penny
of that.
heads up, it's good luck.
In my
So I
life,
just
it
kick it
Never
until
heard
it,
that.
turns
Never
over,
heard
and then I pick it up.
That's a good.
Well, if you find money, it's luck.
Yeah, well, there you go. So who's to say any of
Heads
these
or
things?
tails,
Yep.
it's
Did-
luck.
But you mentioned the penny press machines that you used to find.
If any
Are
of your
they still
viewers
there?
know, because they know everything, if any of your viewers know where to find a penny press machine, please tell me, because I used to find them in museums. You know, they used to be like near the gift shop, and you pay $1 to press a penny. So talk about,
They used to be in
inefficiency.
Howard Johnson's on the Turnpike, too.
Yeah, right. The other place we would find them is at the rest stops, when you're driving, and they have those big turnpike
Yeah.
rest stops, but I haven't been at a rest stop.
One of the casinos.
Oh,
Beach.
where?
Oh,
Beach, they have in the casino. You can put your penny in there and
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, I want to go get a picture of the penny machine, because if you get rid of pennies, no penny machines.
I want to see a picture of one because
They
like this.
yeah, they turn out like a pancake, like a oblong oval shape.
Oh,
Yeah, the penny machine, yeah, it's pretty cool, and you crank it. So, I mean, you pretend to crank it, the machine really does the work, but the kids love it. When I was
Well,
growing
you're
up.
cranking it, but gearing does the work.
Right, well,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not like you're, really
Right.
putting any elbow grease into it. The other thing that we used to do when I was growing up, I lived near the train tracks, and we would put a quarter on the train tracks. Well, if we had a quarter, usually it was a penny, but, half the time the vibration would knock the penny off. But if you got lucky, the train would, what do you call it, the wheel
Yeah.
of the train would roll over that and smash it right against and then you could pick it up. And I wish I'd saved those things. We'd spend hours down there trying to get a flattened penny.
Playing around the train tracks.
Playing around the train tracks, that's
Yeah.
right. We were raised right, Cliff.
Wait, so when you say a penny press machine at the casino, is it the arcade casino, John, or the adult casino?
oh, no, the kids' casino.
Kids casino. Okay. All
I'll
right.
have to check that out. Hampton Beach?
Oh, have you not been?
I have not.
Oh, it's.
I
an
have never
experience.
been in a casino.
It's
Well,
an
no,
arcade
it's a penny
casino.
arcade. It's-
Oh, Penny Arcade. Oh, I love those.
Yes.
See? What
You
would
ha-
happen to the Penny Arcade? I didn't even put that in
Yeah.
the column.
You have to go there and then write an article on it because everybody in Lowell vacations or goes to Hampton Beach.
Really? Okay, I'm going to write it down. I love
Mm-hmm.
little tips like this.
And you didn't mention Penny Candy, the song.
No, you're right. I mean, really, the world will shift on its axis.
From Melanie's fan club. Eileen, can you read those?
Good morning. Melanie understands. Buy local. Jay. Finding money is the best, especially in the dryer or washing machine. Yes.
Oh, right on. I just found $5 in a pocket that, or it must have fallen out of a
This
pocket.
is the last text for now.
How
Right.
does Melanie feel about free speech rights being taken away in Germany?
I don't know anything about that. What's the story on that? Is that
Oh,
Jay?
yeah.
No, I'm not up to speed. So,
CNN had a big article on this
well, that's your first mistake. I don't read CNN.
right after, who said that Margaret Brennan does Face the Nation after she tried to sell Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the idea that the Holocaust was the result of free speech in Germany.
Oh. Well, there's
I mean-
a lot of crazy stuff going on out there.
Yeah,
So-
but she's their chief foreign correspondent.
Yeah,
She's
well-
a college graduate.
Yeah,
What
CNN
an
disappoints
ignorant-
me. I
what an
know.
Ignorant comment.
Their stories are frustrating to read, so I just stopped reading them. Sorry, CNN, but I really felt like a reader should walk away with internal questions.
Yeah, you're
Like,
right. I agree.
The article makes you think about your response to what you've just learned. It shouldn't leave you hanging, like, what the hell did I just read? It shouldn't raise more questions in that way than in a way that spurs more conversation.
Right.
And it just left me
I
confused.
mean, did Margaret Brennan not know they were burning books in 1933 in Germany?
Well, you don't like Margaret Brennan, and I don't like Hank Brennan. So
Is that somebody related?
Hank Brennan, no, I don't know, I'd like to find out, but he's the prosecutor, he was the prosecutor for Whitey Bulger. Oh, no,
Oh.
he wasn't the prosecutor, he was the defense attorney for Whitey. Now he's in as a special prosecutor for the Karen Reed case.
Oh, right, brilliant. I mean, I do think, that case is a hot mess. So when you want to
Hot
look
mess.
at when
How many-
people feel, oh, go ahead, sorry, how many?
How many phrases involve the penny?
I know, I need to
Dozens.
sit down and, so what was yours? If you stoop, don't stoop to
No.
pick up a penny?
You stoop to pick up a penny.
Which is like
Like, why would you do that?
A penny saved is a penny earned.
seriously, when I got my kids started, that's why I gave them a milk jug and told them to start pitching all their change in there.
There's 41.
Because a penny
saved
is
a
something they
penny gained.
can understand. You
That's-
tell them to save their dollars or their quarters or, it doesn't, and even in a bank, I would make when they got Christmas money or birthday money, they got 15% that was their mad money. But the other 85% went in the bank. But a bank, it doesn't really make sense to them, that kind of saving. So a penny jar, they feel like
But back before
they're
you were
rich.
born, the federal government had savings stamps.
Yeah, that's right.
And you could, when you'd gotten $18.75 or 95 cents worth of savings stamps in your book, which you did when you were in school, you'd buy them and put them in. You could turn it in and get a $25 savings bond.
Oh, does anybody do savings bonds anymore? I had them for a long
I
time.
think I turned in my last one about
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Same. That's interesting.
I like this
I
one.
have to look
Don't
that
be
up.
penny wise and pound foolish.
I put that in the column. I said,
Yeah,
you
you
might
did,
be
which
right.
made me wonder,
I gotta read
when
that.
did they do away with the pound?
Well, that's the thing. Don't be 3 penny wise and pound foolish, since it takes 3 pennies to make 1 penny. That's what I should have said.
I love it. That is good.
Well, you're right. The penny wise, pound foolish might be a
Maybe it's a British.
against the British thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
A penny for your thoughts, it's really good stuff. I don't know. I feel like, yes, if you're going to look to save money, I don't know how much that 3 cents adds up over
I
the,
wonder how much the penny will cost after Doge investigates how many employees they have.
who, the Mint?
Yeah.
I've never been to the Mint. That's one tour I would like to take. I don't know if they still offer those. You can
Where's the
tour a lot
Mint?
in DC. I mean, one of them.
So right after you go across the Potomac River, you go up that street, on the left is the Mint.
Only been once, so I'm not too familiar with
To
the
DC?
area.
You've only been once to DC?
There's one in Philly, there's one in San Francisco,
we can make a
there's one
girls'
in
trip now.
Denver.
How's
Yes,
that?
I love DC.
Okay. Well, I just want to make a note of kindness for the month of February. Twice this month, when I've gone through a drive-through, somebody has paid for me. Yes.
Where did you drive through? I got to write that down.
So Honeydew on Broadway Road was the first time, and then yesterday at Dunkin's
So somebody in front of you,
paid for me. And then I was like, well, how
but
much
how do
is...
they know what you're going to get, or they just give the people $5 or something?
I don't, I must have ordered and then they...
Oh,
But
they
yes-
said, oh, right, because you order behind them, so they'll know at the window.
And yesterday...
Interesting.
Yesterday, when I went to Dunkin's, I said, do you know that person's name? Because that was so nice of them. And he was like, no, they paid for it before you
Do
actually
you have
even
something in your
ordered.
window that says, please pay, reverse writing, please pay for my order? Like across your
No,
windshield?
but I find it, but actually, I must, then I'm at work and I get a text message from one of my friends. Did you enjoy your coffee this morning? And I was like, what? I was like, my friend has a rental car, so I didn't notice.
Oh,
So it was
interesting.
her, disclaimer on that. But I was driving to work with very happy feeling because kindness speaks volumes in the smallest.
That is very nice.
And I always, in both cases, I paid for the person behind me too, to like kind of spread that kindness. Because
nice.
everyone can use a little break now and then.
A little unexpected, right, kindness.
Question for the audience, Eileen.
The name Penny. Oh, I have a friend named Penny.
Oh, true.
Yep.
See, look, he can't get rid of the penny cliff. What will people do?
Where did the name penny come from? An Old English word, Pfennig,
Oh, Pfennig, yeah,
which is related to the German word.
interesting.
Getting too deep for me. Back to you.
All
guys.
right. All right, what else have you got for us?
Well,
Cliff?
there goes that question. It just floated out onto the floor.
I have a,
I wanted to talk to you about an editorial a couple of weeks ago in the Sun.
now, you know that's a separate side of the house. We don't have
I understand,
any
but-
input, although I would love to put my thumb on that scale sometime.
On the other hand, sometimes when I read the column, I think that it's an additional editorial page item. But anyway,
Well, you're right. I mean, it's a free, what do you call it? Freewheeling.
yes, it is freewheeling.
Yeah, it is pretty, I mean, it's so different from what I have to write during the
Yeah.
week, where I have to nail everything down. Everything has to be perfect. You know, pretty much, I can't do fake news. And the column is a
Wait
little
a
bit.
second. What,
Not
what
from me,
about
buddy.
that? What about that email I sent you
What was the email?
when you said that for the students at the Inland Conference
Oh,
Center?
I got back to you on that, and I said.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yes, because I sent it at like 5:30 this morning, and I said,
Oh,
I'll see you
okay.
on the air if we don't talk
Yeah.
about it. But you raise a good
Yeah.
question, and actually another reader contacted me and said, does CTI are they eligible for that $104 state subsidy for kids that they're,
Yeah.
whether they're, because CTI has daycare. You can be as
Right.
young as a baby, or they have the early ed, which is 2 years and older, and then they have pre-K, just like the public schools. So I have to ask, and I don't think CTI they're probably not the only provider. That's the bus, that's
Yeah.
the picture of the bus that I took. But I think there is the point of that article was there's a huge underneath ecosystem that has come up because of the migrants. And when they leave in 6 months, all of that's going to go away.
Yeah.
The teachers, the subsidies, the EBT cards. How does EBT stand for? Electronic Benefits Transaction?
Transfer.
Transfer? Okay. So I went up to the Dollar General, which is like a discount food store, although their prices sometimes can be.
Be high.
They can be high.
It's not really a dollar.
Or a penny, for that matter. So she said they have a lot of business because they're right across the street from the
Yeah.
Inn and Conference Center. And she said that's going to hit their bottom line too. So, I think it has lifted a lot of boats, but as we all acknowledge, at the tune of $1 billion, almost $1 billion in 2025, the fiscal year 2025, which is 2024. So the first year of the migrants, which was calendar year 2023, fiscal year 2024, was like 300 million.
Yeah.
And then it just exploded. But my question is, and I don't have all the answers, even though I write like I do, but you have to admit that I narrow my focus. Like I only try to be a subject matter expert in a very, very specific,
Yeah.
like the timeline. They have to leave, and then I link to the documents.
Did you see where the Democrats are now on board for deporting immigrants?
I did not. Where have I been? I did not look at the news at all yesterday.
It was on
Don't tell me CNN.
some MSNBC talk show. They want to deport Elon Musk.
Oh, well, that's like the column, I think it's just people being provocative and sticking a knife in it and trying to change the conversation. You're a parent. You know that when you would say to the kid, let's just say, I saw you riding your bike without a helmet, and they quick turn around and say something as a distraction, to move the conversation. And savvy parents know better. Like, a fawning child might say, oh, Mama, you smell so good, or oh, you look so good, or oh, did you just
Okay,
bake cookies or
speaking of
whatever?
distracting, we were talking about the editorial page,
Yes.
and they had an editorial decrying President Trump's plan for peace in Gaza.
Oh, to
And-
to monetize it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got, which frankly, I don't think that's really his plan. I think his plan is to try and get other people to come up with alternatives, which has happened. But anyway, I got all the way to the bottom. They had no solution. So they were quick to jump on President Trump, but they have no idea.
Yeah.
Does the editor have a clue?
Well, I don't even, it's such a closely guarded secret who the editor even is, so that we can't even email, and say, oh, or make our pitch or anything like that. But again, I think one of the appeals of Trump is that he just upsets the apple cart.
Yeah.
He says, we're not going to negotiate, we're not going to talk, we're not going to collaborate, we're just going to, you're out. It's like you don't have it's like musical chairs. The music
Yeah.
stops, you don't have a chair, tough luck. And
On the other hand, he's involving Saudi Arabia's MBS, who Joe Biden tried to shut down.
well, that guy is, he didn't deny responsibility for the killing of that journalist. And I
Are
just
you
think.
blaming Joe
didn't deny?
Biden? You said that guy.
What's his?
MBS.
MBS. He didn't deny killing the Washington Post journalist Khashoggi.
Having him killed.
Having him killed, right,
Yeah.
having him killed. So he ordered a state hit on a private citizen. And,
May have, yeah.
well, no, he admitted that his people, he was kind of like Henry
Yeah.
II, who said, will nobody rid me of this troublesome priest? Do you remember
Yes.
that? And so his 2 or 3 or 4 knights went and killed Thomas Becket.
Right.
And then Henry turns around and says, oh, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean for you to actually, but when the king speaks, which I do think Trump sort of fashions himself in that, what's the word, Milu, is that, he says these things and he hopes other people will interpret his intention and carry out an action. So I think MBS probably said, will no one rid me of this troublesome journalist? And they did. And then he's got hands-off, clean, distance, and he can say, "Oh, we're so sorry." They,
Okay, so let's.
So, but it's a terrible
let's
thing.
deviate for a second on this. Do we think that MBS is the only world leader that's having people killed?
No, and I think that's the more alarming piece to this is that I don't even really know how that unraveled. I think his fiancée is the one who blew the whistle and, had video of him going in. For a long time, they denied, as I recall, I could stand corrected, the Saudi government denied that he even entered the embassy. Remember? They were like, well, I don't know, maybe he went to McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts and, or he fled the country or, or she's making stuff up. And she had video of him, and then they found cameras, of course, showing that he entered the embassy and never came out. So, yeah, I think anything like that is super alarming. But he was never,
Consulate,
the consulate, I'm sorry.
Istanbul,
Right.
or maybe.
Well, it wasn't in Saudi Arabia,
Constantinople.
right.
Yeah, Turkey. So.
Which are protected spaces, so it's not like anybody, I was once riding my bike through DC,
Oh, yeah,
and I had to ride away, and a diplomatic car blew the stop sign and threw me right off my bike. Thank goodness I was wearing a helmet, I was fine.
Scary.
But, he called the police because I think he was worried about me, but the police came and were like, yeah, there's nothing to do here. So the bike was ruined, I was fine, but the guy gave me, on the spot, $250 to replace my bike.
Very nice of him.
It was very nice, and I wish I could remember the embassy that he worked for, but I remember him being very, probably more distraught than me. The only thing I remember when I was hit was let go of the handlebars.
Let go of the
Let go of the handlebars.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, so I flew
'Cause-
right over the hood without the bike. The bike
You know,
got mangled.
post office trucks don't have to stop at stop signs.
Really? I did not know that. Wait, in cities?
Some lawyer
There,
told
by
me
the grace
that.
of God, that's like Frogger. Good, by the grace of God, they go.
Anyway,
Well, the Gaza thing is perplexing, and it's, it seems one dead end after another.
it does,
It-
and has.
And the violence aspect of it, what happened a year ago in October was how do you say that word?
Unconscionable.
Yes, and it's hard to come back from that.
But it's heading in the direction of the Balkans. I remember reading an article, the reporter was talking to some guy and he said, and they're on the front steps of a house, and the guy says, yes, that house on the other side of the street, 6 up, used to be our house 400 years ago. And that's what's going on in Gaza. They're not prepared to move on. They want to move back. That was, what?
Right, well, even in
70
Lebanon,
years
we
ago?
say elections, 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 do the democratic process, and they elected overwhelmingly Hezbollah.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
our hands are tied theoretically in terms of how to make people make their leaders accountable. And I don't know how you do that with the threat of violence. I mean, that's one of the beauties of democracy. I can write stuff in the paper, and I don't have to worry about, well, I hope, knock on wood, I don't have to, where's the wood? I don't have to worry about, police showing up at my door and executing a search warrant for my speech or raiding the newsroom.
Except, back to the question about Germany and free speech.
Oh, yeah, what was that
People were
about?
writing in Facebook comments about being unhappy about immigrants, and the police showed up and confiscated their electronics.
Oh, well, you know what? I think Facebook is a cesspool. And
Yeah.
so I kind of feel like, well, you play with the devil, you get
But-
burned.
But
Very true.
in England, some 54-year-old grandmother, she must have had her kids early. Some 54-year-old grandmother got visited by two policemen because she had said that she was unhappy with the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. Now,
Well, yeah,
they
there-
didn't do anything to her, and they said they couldn't do anything to her, but she says, I'm now intimidated.
Well, that's a bad trend. I agree with you. I think, the things that, I try to stay off of Facebook, and now increasingly Twitter. I don't post on Twitter anymore, and I rarely get on it because it's so hostile and so bad-mannered, like crude, like rude, crude, and socially unacceptable. And I'm yeah, and I'm just not interested in that sort of filtering into my brain. Mm-mm. I don't need all rainbows and unicorns, but I don't want to be abused.
Oh, I
Not
can't.
personally.
Not
do you
true,
wanna
Cliff.
read these?
Postal vehicles have to follow traffic laws, and Google votes for
Volksverhetzung.
Hudson.
Well, we're getting like a language lesson here, but you're right. I think one of the things about,
Right here, Eileen.
incitement to hatred against segments of the populace, oh my gosh, we'd have to get rid of social media. The platform that I do enjoy is LinkedIn, because it's very professional. They just talk about jobs, they talk about work,
Yep.
they do their thought conversations, but they don't name call, they don't disparage, they don't, it seems like a pretty grown-up, it's a lot more boring in some respects, but it's normal. So, and Instagram is pretty
Good.
it's eye candy.
But Facebook and.
And I know Facebook owns
Twitter.
Instagram, but Facebook and
And-
Twitter are like,
Yeah. We were just talking about interesting text messages, like the most interesting text message you'll see is me being upset at somebody or saying something to somebody, but I would have trouble saying it to their face, so I like to text, right? Because I feel like I'm putting it there, but if I'm face to face with a person and I have to talk about something difficult, it's easier for me to write about
yeah,
it.
because they might punch you.
Right.
Face to face.
But people get this confidence like behind a screen.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I don't know.
Commando.
What's that?
Keyboard commando.
I like that, John.
Yeah, I like
Keyboard
that.
commando.
It's definitely very, very true. And
You can hide behind a fake name.
Yes,
yeah.
right. And even the stuff you say isn't vetted because there's no grown-up in the chat.
My name is Susie Sweetface.
Well, we talked about that one time. We're on a list serve. It wasn't here in lowell. Somebody posted a picture of a spider mite, the little red spiders. And someone said, oh, that's this whole thread erupted on what it wasn't. Because they were wrong. And finally, someone said that they took a picture of it with their app, the Google app that identifies plants and insects, and posted it. And people still said, no, if and it's like, there are these self-made experts who deny reality and legitimate, established history or, experience or facts. And I think,
Not my president.
well, I just think Facebook feeds into that sort of craziness.
Okay, so-
Anyway, so I'm not on Facebook, but what were you saying? So Germany, yeah, I think, I don't know. I like the old-fashioned, old-school style. Write the letter to the editor.
Yeah.
I do.
I think a lot of it is libelous. I don't know how much of it rises to hate speech or terrorism, but I do think this unchecked bad manners. It's like pornography. You know it when you see it. Well, you kind of know bad manners when you see it or read it or hear it. And I thought it was interesting bringing that in with the city council. You know, the city solicitor, assistant city solicitor, first assistant city solicitor.
Who's that?
Thomas Wood.
Okay, never met
You know,
him.
based on the Supreme Court decision about public officials using their social media accounts. They can't block and they can't censor people. So, and it might even extend to their personal accounts as well. According to the Supreme Court, they didn't make a distinction between personal accounts and public accounts. In other words, and I've noticed this on Lori Trahan's social media profiles, is that she'll post something and they hate, what's the word, vitriol?
Vitriol.
Vitriol that comes at her. It's gross. Like, I don't know what people are thinking.
So let's talk about Lori Trahan.
And you can do that. She can't stop them. Are you okay there, John? I have water. Would you like a water? I got it. Oh, you got one? Okay.
So let's
okay.
talk about Lori Trahan.
I'm going to head out and go to work.
All right.
Shame on you.
Shame on me. I'd love to get your thoughts on Karen Reed's case.
Whether she did it or not, she's like OJ.
Yeah.
The chain of custody, the integrity of the case is shot. There's no way.
She can even have a fair trial.
No, she can't. I think, I never knew that Canton, talk about a cesspool.
Ooh.
I had no idea it was so backwater.
And the Mass
and
State Police to
Oh,
boot.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
All the
I just
cahoots.
wanted
All
to
right, lady.
dish.
No, I'm not in favor of letting, she's an alleged murderer, but it's innocent until proven guilty, and the burden is on the state, and they have to do it right. They can't just do whatever they want.
Exactly. So to the person who said I
that's the
was
distraction.
wrong about postal trucks, I will research my research and see
Well, if
if I
that's the
was
case,
wrong.
I want to buy a postal truck.
Yeah, I'm right.
I want to cruise.
Oh,
the
we
street.
bought some new ones. I've seen some new ones running around Lowell.
There are three things I really like in this world. When I toured the Superior Court up there on Gorham Street, they had an old-fashioned AT&T phone booth on the wall. I would love to get a crowbar and get in that, and I would love an old-fashioned mailbox, the blue ones that.
Yeah.
I just think those are just romantic. And now I'm thinking I might add the postal truck to my list. I'd like to drive around in a postal truck.
So Lori Trahan had a telephone town hall on Tuesday.
Oh, you mentioned that. Yeah, good
Did
for her.
you,
I did not. I wasn't able to make that one.
Did you? I called down to the office on Wednesday and said we were going to talk about it on Friday and asked how many people. And nobody got back to me.
Oh.
Do you know how many people she had on the telephone call?
You know what? I'll have to ask.
Yeah.
I'll find out.
But
Those things are always kind of awkward, though. They don't really work,
What?
The phone call thing. It wasn't a Zoom. It was telephone only.
telephone.
Yeah, those are awkward.
Yeah.
I've been in on telephone Zoom-like calls, and nobody can talk, because only one voice can be heard at a time. So I'll find out.
So she started out talking about an unprecedented assault on our rights and Constitution. So it was kind of argumentative right from the start, and she brought up birthright citizenship. I'm for birthright citizenship. I think it's a good idea, but I'm dubious about its constitutionality.
Well, if you have originalists on the court like you do, Alito, Thomas,
Yeah,
Gorsh, sort of,
yeah.
you had mentioned this a couple weeks ago. He could make a strong case for birthright citizenship. But, I think a lot of the stuff, it's just kind of interesting to me that in I think the early 2000s, the rank on the Democratic Party was that they were using judges, activist judges. Remember that?
Yeah.
And now we're very much in an activist judge stage. And the
What kind of
activist,
judge you talking about?
activist judges, instead of doing things legislatively, like through the Congress.
Yeah.
Or through the, well, not so much the executive branch, they're taking, they're elevating it to the judicial branch, which is deciding a lot of our public discourse in space. What my question is that when, and maybe when the administration goes before the Supreme Court to argue the allocation, the federal funding, with USAID, does the Congress have its own lawyer to argue on their behalf?
I
Like,
don't
who
think
represents
so.
the Congress?
I
If the
don't know.
administration is against the Congress, and it's a separate branch,
Yeah.
but the judicial Justice Department works for both. So if the Justice Department is filing a brief on behalf of the president with the Supreme Court not to pay those $2 billion in bills, who
This-
represents the Congress?
I don't know.
I don't know, so-
Solicitor General for the administration.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
So I guess my question is there, I always put these out there because, John, you have such good, viewers who know a lot. My question is there a Solicitor General for the Congress?
Good question. Good question.
Because
The audience, I got 2 feet of read, Eileen.
it does.
No, I'm sorry, Eileen's my Melanie.
It didn't matter. Miss Trahan doesn't care. She's a mass swamp creature. Good morning, Jay. What is it? Does J stand for J? J-A-Y or?
If you sign your name, all I do is I just copy and paste.
Oh, gotcha. Free speech is free speech. It's there to protect the speech you don't like, not the speech you like. Well, true. I mean, that's always, as long as you don't incite violence. Yeah, I
Exactly
mean, you
right.
can have, I like vanilla ice cream. Somebody else likes chocolate. I should still have the right to enjoy vanilla ice cream. I don't want my right to vanilla ice cream taken away. And I think this is where it's becoming very didactic. The chocolate lovers or the vanilla lovers say, you can't have chocolate, and the chocolate lovers say, you can't have vanilla. Like, we're a pluralistic society. We should be but it seems increasingly we're not. We're getting away from pluralism. And I don't know why that is. I don't understand this sudden shift. I will say that I think, and you and I sort of talked about this via email, is that democracy is a very fragile thing.
Yeah.
And it's a new thing. It hasn't really existed ever in history, not recorded history. So here we have 250, 75 years of democracy. But I do think that democracy is at odds with conquest. And we talked about that with Europe. After we and the Russians won, and other countries involved, the Allied forces won the World War II against the Axis powers in Germany, we could have carved up Europe. We didn't have to do the Marshall Plan or the Berlin airdrop or any of that. We could have just said,
We want to pay to fix the place up.
but,
That's why we didn't do it. We're cheap.
well, I think that's kind of cynical, John. I think it could be part of that.
Now we want to take over Gaza because it has oceanfront property.
Right.
You want to read these? This is Cliff's homework.
Big Red Dog's homework. Is that what they call you, a Big Red Dog?
Yes.
For the weekend. I like that. BRD. Professor Mearsheimer on YouTube. Germany, free speech, postal trucks, anything we missed. I'm going to write them down.
Cliff's a Republican. That's why he's the big red dog.
Oh, gotcha.
No,
I thought it had something to do with Clifford.
it does.
Okay, all right. Well, you can do both, right? The big red dog. All right, so with the telephone, you know what? I just think a lot of these folks don't seem to know their history. You're a big history guy.
Yeah.
Remember when England was always fighting France because England owned property through Eleanor Aquitaine in France, and France always wanted that land and was constantly carving up
Well, wait.
English possessions.
What about William the out of wedlock? 1066.
Oh, yes, a Frenchman who came to...
So there is that French connection from Normandy into England.
Yeah, so the French conquered England.
Yeah.
But it remains English, but there were like Henry II,
Yeah.
and even up to Henry, probably John, King John, they thought of themselves as French as well, and they wanted to
Yeah.
conquer France. And France wasn't playing. King Philip would just play possum. Go ahead and loot and pillage my villages. I'm not going to engage you on the battlefield. And Henry and all of those kings ran out of money and had to go back home. They ran out of men, dysentery. And I think on some level, the Democrats have to take a page out of history and just play possum and just step back a bit.
You and
And not
James
engage.
Carville.
Oh, is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
I like James Carville. I
He's
think
pretty
every
bright.
time they engage, like they show up at
Yeah.
USAID or they show up in front and try to get in these buildings, they look weak.
Yeah.
Every time they come out, I get all those press releases from mostly Senator Markey, and I think you're demonstrating how powerless you are. You should just go radio silent for a while and let the chips fall where they may and organize a more coherent strategy. So I'll have to look up James Carville. That's going to be my next. I have a lot of homework, guys.
So, Lori Trahan brings up the top 1% versus the others, which sort of reminds me of Senator Elizabeth Warren and her claim that she wants the rich to pay their fair share. And I'm not sure what that is, because the top 1% pays something like 39% of the income tax. So
Well, I
what
don't-
is their fair share?
I don't know. I think traditionally the mindset has been is that they pay their fair share through job creation and economic growth. That they create
That too.
tax-paying, they create a tax-paying space and they drive the economy. I mean, it's hard to argue that 1% does generate a ton of,
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because Lori Trahan said that Elon Musk didn't need another private jet. And so I thought about that, and so I thought about a cheap Learjet, $2.4 million.
oh, that's pennies
So I said,
to a billionaire.
overhead, 600,000, G&A and profit, 200,000, and then labor and materials, $800,000 each. And then I said, what's your average assembly line man make? $74.50 an hour.
Wow.
So, $800,000, that's 22,000 man hours, which is 10 man years. So, 10 people employed in just assembling the airplane, maybe another 10 in putting together the jet engines and the radio and all that other stuff. And then once he gets the airplane, he's going to have 2 pilots, he's going to have a steward, a crew chief, and an assistant crew chief. There's 5 people that are employed. That extra airplane for Elon Musk represents a lot of employment out there.
Well, yes, and of course they benefit off of that structure. And I think, just to reduce it really down, it's like the drug trade, all this fentanyl and cocaine and everything, cocaine coming from Colombia, fentanyl from Mexico, and there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
There would be no drug trade if Americans didn't consume drugs, illegal drugs.
Exactly.
So there would be no billionaires if we didn't buy all their crap. But we are obsessed with, I believe, we are obsessed with buying stuff. And so we make this possible. And I think this is why we were talking about small businesses, is that there's this move today, don't buy from the conglomerates, which I think, is well-meaning, but it's performative. It's not really going to make a difference. If you really want to make a difference, quit Twitter. If you really want to make a difference, quit Facebook. But people don't want to do that. They want to pick their poison. And it's like the drugs. If you really want to make the United States more secure, don't do drugs. But there are all these levels involved in that drug trade, both not legit, but business. It's not just dealers like we see down at the South Common or other places, Mass and Cass. Those are low level. All that had to come in through mainstream players. But it's easier to go for the low hanging fruit and say you're crushing the war on drugs. So, And I get the whole mental health and the drug addiction and all that kind of stuff. Opioids were legal, and they still got hooked. So I just think there does, and this is where I would agree with you, John, and I agree with you, Cliff, and this way, we were raised, and I think it's sort of, get back to that, is that you have to take personal accountability. Is that you have to be willing to make some sacrifices to get what you want. And I'm not sure that the progressive movement is there to make those kind of sacrifices.
No,
I'm not sure the American public is there.
City council,
All right, bring it.
do you think that they're, to a degree, disenfranchised from the administration? And by that I mean, they're given just enough information to make them eat the chocolate, not realizing the poison that's within the chocolate. And I use the Heinz Tavern regulation.
Well,
As an
John,
example.
it's a big, sprawling city. There aren't enough people to keep track of everything, certainly not those 11 people. And, that's a part-time, it's not even a full-time job. It's a
Right.
part-time gig. It's nominal. It's not insubstantial. They get $25,000 a year. I think the mayor gets paid $30,000 a
I
year.
thought they got 30, the mayor got 35, but that's okay. Listen,
Maybe it'll change in this year's budget, but as far as I remember from last year's budget, it was 25 and 30.
Okay.
But, they're attending at least 52 meetings a year with their executive council meetings and their subcommittees and, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of,
I'd give them 100.
I would make it a full-time job. I would make it an electable full-time job. Because I think it's too much. There's too much. So the Heinz Tavern, for instance, that was approved through the planning board, but it was done so. That entire project was approved.
No. First, it was approved by the city council.
Right. So
The version that Lowell has, no parking. Now, because the manager did not, I don't know the whole story, so I'll say administration did not tell the city council. There are other versions of this law if you'd like to read up on it. But when they passed that, not knowing that this is the law, MBTA, we have to do it, there's nothing we can do. There were other things you could do.
But there are no other things that you can do that come with, financial.
They could have been 2 parking spaces per unit if the city adopted that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that the administration is pulling the wool over the council's eyes, and I don't think the council tries to pull the wool over the manager's eyes. I think sometimes they talk past each other.
Well, I know for a fact, because city councilors have put into my ear that they didn't realize there was an option that you could force 2 parking spaces per unit.
2 parking spaces per unit is a lot, but I do see your
No,
point.
how many cars do you have at your house, kid?
One.
One?
By choice. We finally bought, yes, I ride my bike everywhere. In fact,
You didn't write it here.
No, I don't ride it here. I wish I would if I could. I mean, one time I did, and it was so treacherous, especially through
was a killer.
Burlington. Oh, my goodness. I mean, the bike lane, such as it was this big. And the sidewalks were horrible, because I'll ride on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I'm with you. Sidewalk's the way to go.
But I would love it if they turned a bike lane in the middle of the highway. I would bike all over creation. But yes, we're a 1-car family by choice. Now, we did finally break down and buy my daughter a used car. So she has her own car because she has a job.
She
and-
parks at the train station, right, and walks to the house.
Well, she's out in Westfield going to
Okay.
school, so there is
So
no.
when she comes home for summer, she's going to park at the train station and walk?
Well, when she comes home for the summer, she does actually walk up to her job at Walgreens, which is like 4 blocks away.
Where does she leave her car?
In the driveway. Yeah.
So how many spaces do you have?
Well, I have a huge apron, so I probably have 4.
Okay, so I
Or-
just think that every Tom, Dick, and Mary, when they come home from work, they expect to be able to park next to the door of their house and bring their groceries in.
Well, we kind of have to expect that because,
Not in Lowell.
well, 2 things, because there's not a good infrastructure. You've been in Germany, they have those little trolleys like they do at the Green Line in Boston. They're all over the place. You can walk out your front door, jump on a trolley, and be wherever you need in minutes. And I think the other thing is that the kind of development they're doing at the Haynes Tavern is going to be probably single people or couples. You can't have families there, so they're not going to have a lot of groceries. And if they do major shopping, they'll park and probably they're going to establish a temporary spot, 15-minute parking, where you can unload your stuff.
No, they're not. Go over to Perry Street. Take a ride over to, when you leave here, take a ride over to one-way Perry Street.
I've been down there. You know
No.
what they should do? The city owns the Superior Court parking lot over there. That used to be the jurors' parking lot. I wonder if they could lease that to the developers. That's a pretty big, that's got to be, I'm guessing, 70 spots over there.
John is missing the big point here.
What's the big point?
The big point is that this is irrelevant to fixing the problem.
Well, it creates,
Okay.
I agree with you, is that it's assuming, it's making a lot of assumptions. It's assuming, a lot of these developments are doing that. The West 6th Street.
Is the city council going to bring it back to change the law?
Well, Eric Kitchier mentioned that in.
Well, mentioned it. Has it been on the agenda yet?
No, and that would be a long process. You're looking at probably 2 years at the rate these things go for that to be turned around, because it has to go to a public hearing, it has to go before the land use boards, it has to come back
Oh,
for.
that's just too, in the meantime,
Well, in the meantime, the stuff
in
is
the
getting
meantime, we're
built.
going to build the Bishop Markham housing project with zero parking.
John,
Listening to you, Cliff.
John, do you have Melanie booked for Monday so that we can finish getting through the Lord?
I'm sorry, Cliff's kicking me off the show here. Go ahead, Cliff.
The time goes so fast. Well, I think the development, the hope is that you build it, they will come. Not only the renters, but, and these are predominantly market rate rental. They're not home ownership, which I think is an issue. And
Exactly.
you need to build home ownership into the equation. I just don't see how this model, and that's the market, that has nothing to do with the city council. That's private development. The
No,
private developers are
well-
building market rate of rentals.
No, I think it's partly the state creating the opportunities to build places like Levittown's here in Massachusetts, because we have got a terrible racial differentiation in terms of generational wealth.
Right.
And if you look at the numbers, blacks, Hispanics are not doing nearly as well as Caucasians, and it needs to be fixed. This is a consequence of redlining and segregation, and if we want to talk about reparations, that's the place.
Home ownership, I agree with you. That's a really good approach to it.
And the state needs to be involved in terms of building the infrastructure, the freeways, building a high-speed rail from a point outside of 495 back into Boston, making sure there's schools, firehouses, a police station. This is, Maura Healy doesn't have a clue. Maybe Josh Kraft has a clue, because he's talking about
doubt
it a little bit.
Well, right.
I mean,
Well, you know, that Fort Devens is interesting. You could do a Levittown
yep.
on Fort Devens, and I don't know what stops. I'm not educated enough in this whole dynamic to understand why it's so complicated to move this stuff forward. And I do think that's the appeal of Trump. He comes in and he says, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Make it happen. And he finds people who make it happen. Now, they don't always make it happen presumably legally, and that's where these cases, but stuff is happening. And it's deeply frustrating. I just read an article about how San Antonio, or Austin, I can't remember which one, maybe it was Austin, built like 44,000 units last year or something, compared to the 17,000 in all of Massachusetts. That's upside down. Now, Texas is huge, so they have more land to build. And Massachusetts is, when you look at your whole hand, that's Texas, and your thumbnail is Massachusetts. So,
But yet there's a lot of empty space out there.
and I get it. Now the economy is making things tricky. We have a lot of vertical space, but we never build over 5 feet. Because over 5 feet, you have to have steel, and steel is more expensive. So I
Meaning
would love
5
to
stories.
see. I'm sorry?
Meaning 5 stories.
5 stories, yeah, sorry. So, that's what Sal Lapoli basically wants to build. I saw the schematics, a Haynes Tavern right there off of Dutton Street. Like, can you imagine? It's okay off on Gorham, that sort of 5-story they all have the same color palette, they all have the same look and feel, those buildings, but it should be more majestic.
So do you think a
in-
developer might have dropped a dime to the city councilors and said, let this sit for 60 days, please?
Yeah, I don't know. I would love, for the Hamilton Canal Innovation District, HCID, I would love to see a more grand building, because that's a gateway. And I'm not sure that
Okay,
that's
we've
going to
got
happen.
60 seconds.
Okay, 60 seconds.
Where are the people from the Inn and Conference Center going to go when they they lose their temporary?
If I could talk to them, I would ask them, but, I think I'm glad you brought that up. I think one of the mistakes of the administrations, all of them, state, local, federal, is that they never made these people available. I can't tell you how many times I asked to interview migrant families. I don't care if one of their, the state rep was sitting there, or not state representative, but a representative from the
Yeah.
state was sitting there, but they wouldn't make the people available. And
Terrible.
not being able to put a face to the issue, I think, hurt the issue. We don't know these people. We have no idea what their story is. All we hear is that it's cost us $1 billion, and they're getting free food and catered food and all this other stuff, and all of that might be true, but it would have been helpful. And I've been trying for more than a year to get, and I've been shut down. So I don't know. I wish I could ask them. I try to intercept them on the street, but you can't even, they used to walk around downtown all the time. But now I don't see hide nor hair.
Monday
So-
City Life, Cliff's going to be here, Dr. Bill Johnson from UMass Lowell will be here, Eileen Delrossi, Fru Nickenbeck, and Mike Smith.
Not Mike Smith.
No, Mike Smith? Okay.
Melanie, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for coming in.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always good to be here.
Yeah.
It's a good way to start the weekend. Give me a lot to think about, Cliff. I go home with this and I read this. And I
Yeah.
think about what we've talked about. I like that we're having these conversations.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.